Hello and welcome to our show, Midwest Weekly, starring myself, Hairwiz, and my co-host, CLT. We are here to give you a breakdown of the upcoming matchups in round one of the playoffs in the Midwest Sweat League. So, CLT, how are you feeling, man? Did you have yourself a nice weekend?
Yeah. The weekend wasn't too bad. I think the All Star game was pretty entertaining, very successful. And overall, yeah, it's time to get hyped for some playoff series.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm pretty excited myself here. Um, so let's go ahead and start off here. As you guys can see, I'm showing you guys the bracket here. We have, as I said before, 8 teams that made it. And it is going to be single elimination. So we only have 3 rounds. So this should all be nice and tied up right before Halloween. So perfect for your Halloween parties. You don't have to worry about League of Legends. But the first series here we got is Sad Jellyfish versus Big Back Laners. So what are some like good touching points you want to touch on here, CLT? Like something you want to bring up between these two teams that might be in making the matchup kind of enticing.
Um, so for Sad Jellyfish, they just have insane laners. Dippy and Salt, especially in the top side of the map. Salt being our MVP from last split, and Dippy playing just an insane variety of champions. No repeat champions throughout the whole regular season. Makes that top side of the map super consistent, super hard to just move around overall. But kind of looking at the side of BBL, I mean, Low the Man, it's everybody's watched him play. Everybody knows how much of an insane just AD carry he is in general, and his team fightings are like so insane of how he can play hyper carries and position himself in team fights. Um, some highlight picks that he's been really insane on is just stuff like Ashe, stuff like Zeri, where he has movement speed and slows and can kite around a team fight really quite well. So it's gonna be kind of what we hinted at throughout the split, where like Group A's top side of the map has been really strong, but Group B has a lot of really talented AD carries.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll be curious to see with the meta this split on AD carries, like how that affects some of these playoff series, especially with guys like Low the Man and Geico that are just so good on these marksmen, on these like scaling AD carry picks. But now it feels like those aren't the greatest things in the meta right now. We even seen Geico pull out some mages in the last week,
Right.
along with some other bot lanes. So, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I was just kind of looking over the rosters again. I mean, I pretty much know the rosters at this point, but sometimes you might forget, like, especially with these newer teams, which Big Back Laners are, where people might be, where certain roles are at again. And I remember specifically Big Back Laners. Obviously, we know that Low the Man is a very much a strong point. I think his matchup against Shanti will be fun and exciting to watch. Shanti's definitely had a very excellent split. Um, I was actually certainly surprised that she didn't end up in All Stars. I thought she was really like just overall had a really great year. So shout out to her for that. But Lil the Man, obviously, we've talked about this guy being MVP, and for the most part, he has shown himself to be an MVP. I think he did have a little bit of a tailoring off there towards the end of the split, but he got his team in the playoffs, and I know that like in certain circumstances where his team has struggled, like Levi in the mid lane, he's had some good performances, but he's also had some shaky ones at times, and I think it's going to be an exploitable spot for the side of Sad Jellyfish. Salt, obviously the former MVP, and he definitely knows what he's doing. So that'll be a strong point of contention for Sad Jellyfish. Whereas again, I think it's for BBL. It's going to be, can Low the Man do what Low the Man does? Can we play around him? Can he help him carry? His support, Eon Dritz, is a very good support as well. He'll be backing him up. So it'll be a fun bot lane matchup between the two, and I think that's the biggest highlight for me is going to see Mark Cutie and Shanti against Eon Dritz and Low the Man, which are like a top tier duo on both sides. As far as the top lane, it's Sharkies versus Dippy. We all know about Dippy. Dippy's probably had his most quietest split so far, but even with it being quiet as I say, it doesn't mean he hasn't performed super well, because he has. He's done his job. He's put on a lot of different champions. He's kind of shown just different things off. So I'm kind of curious, is he going to stick to something and be more consistent in this series? Or is he just going to continue doing what he's doing and just trust his team and do whatever his champ entails for that game? And then you have Drizzy versus Haku. Haku I've played against many times. I can tell you Haku's a fantastic jungler. And, last time we played against each other, I had one of my worst series in a while. I was completely out of it. I mean, everybody knew what was kind of going on after, but I was dealing with that then too, of course. So I'm not here to call myself slack. I just played bad. It's just what it is. But Haku is that type of player. He's good. He can take over a game. His Gwen jungle is disgusting. He also has got the Kindred and a few other things. So that'll be it'll be interesting to see what BBL can do here, because I think this is a very, very hard challenge for them. Sad Jellyfish is the team that won last split for a reason, and so I'm not going to say it's not possible. I'm not going to sit here and say that BBL cannot pull this off, but I think I would give the edge to Sad Jellyfish here. Would you agree?
Yeah. I think, yeah, overall, kind of going back to what you were talking about in the mid lane specifically, Salt, I lost count of how many different champions he played and different styles, and I know Levi's, from what I've seen on Battlefly, only has 4 different champions played this split. He definitely plays like the Yone, the Veigar, the Lissandra quite well, and he always seems to gravitate towards those. He does have one game on Annie as well earlier in the split. So it's going to be interesting to see how if Sad Jellyfish decide to attack that in the draft and see if they can put Levi on something he's a little more uncomfortable with, or if they feel like putting more bans towards the bot lane would be great. Mark Cutie and Eon Dritz are 2 of the top 3 in the assist column for the regular season. Only separated by 1 assist, so they both definitely set up their teams to do quite a bit. Mark Cutie, as everybody notes, roams quite a bit, and it felt like when a support roamed against BBL, that bot side of the map really attacked that weak side AD carry quite well. So I would give the edge to Sad Jellyfish. They've just been super consistent, super strong all split. But if big back laners find a way to keep this even, going in like the mid game, and they're not down on objectives, I mean, it's going to be a really, really entertaining team fight to see if what Low the Man can do, and likewise, like you said, Sean T on the other side.
Is Yone getting buffs this patch?
Yone and Yasuo are both getting buffs.
Okay,
this patch.
and I know Yone is a Levi champion, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's played, I think, 5 games of Yone this
So,
split.
so that could be pretty big. I mean, I don't know if Sad Jellyfish is going to let him get it. I have no idea what they're going to allow here. But assuming he gets it at least one game, I mean, if it's something that I know I've seen him play pretty well. That and Lissandra. Those are the 2 champions I remember him playing and having some success on. So maybe regardless of the how good another player is, you give me my champion, it's now buffed. Maybe that can give him an edge in the matchup there against Salt. I don't really know all the mid laner matchups as far as champions, but like maybe Yone's good into Vlad. I have no clue. I would see necessarily why it would, but then again I wouldn't see why it's not. Just throwing that out there. But then you have stuff like Taliyah that Salt plays, and I don't know if Yone would be as good into that. Yeah, because Yone has his dash. I think she's got 2 dashes. And does E count as a dash too, actually? I think all 3
Yes.
do. Yeah, so like that's a big thing. Like now you kind of lose that in lane because of the way Taliyah's kit works. Or at least you lose it being as effective with it. You can still use it, right? So those are things like I'm kind of curious how it's going to pan out then with the buff there. But yeah, it should be a good series. And I know they're playing on the morning of Saturday. I think that's what they say, like 10 a.m. or something.
Yeah, why so early, guys? Come on.
They were having a hard time getting something set up and
Yeah.
making sure all 5 players for both teams could be there. So I guess that's what they worked out. And I'll do my
I
best
know.
to cast it
I
though.
messaged Eon after that. I was like, really? Saturday, right in the middle of Worlds? He just laughed. He's like, sorry, bro.
Well,
So
maybe they have a plan.
it happened.
Maybe all of them are morning people, and they think that they can beat them because they're morning people. Maybe that's the
Okay.
maybe that's the strat.
I mean, you guys did that with the late night series that one week, so you never know.
That wasn't the strat. It wasn't the strat. All right, then we have Boomer Squad versus Load the Cannons, and I'll go ahead and do the same thing I did before. I'll bring up the rosters for everybody. So, Boomer Squad, another newer team in the league, but they've been a very consistent team, strong, very strong team. The top and the top mid and 80 carry role have been just like consistent performers, and obviously you got Poke Archer in the jungle. He just likes to play lots of Sejuani. Very, very good at the Sejuani, by the way. And then you got
Yeah.
Chengi on support here, who I think's had some good performances as well. I think it's more of a quiet split in terms of like when you look at those eye popping supports. Maybe he hasn't always eye popped to you, but I think he like helps Bori out a lot to have high success. But they have played more of the Ziggs bot lane, more of the, you know, the kind of boring stuff, I guess you could say. So you don't get as many opportunities to shine when that's your setup. But they're very stable and good bot lane that I'm looking forward to seeing play this week. Whereas on the other side, we have Load the Cannons, and we're going to see the crazy guy. That's what I'm calling Strawberry Milk. The crazy guy down there. I don't know if he's ever going to get his Rel in this series, but it's going to be fun between Rel and Esco, between Strawberry and Esco against Bori and Chengi. That's going to be a fun bot lane to see. And then you got Frozen in the jungle, who's always so consistent. Made the All Stars this split. The guy's been around forever, and he can play the game well. His objective control is second to none. And then, of course, you got Vacant Tech and Rurika as the solo lanes. And we know what we've seen from Rurika, and Vacant's been a solid top laner. So I think it's a pretty evenly matched series, wouldn't you say, CLT?
Yeah, I would agree. When I was kind of going through and creating some notes for these series, this was the one I circled. I was like, okay, this could go either way, and this is going to be entertaining regardless. Um, Bori, like you've mentioned before, Bori's had a really impressive split, but it's been a very unique split because he's favored a lot of those AP champions and mages. Um, Not that he can't play the 80 carries, he's just definitely more of a team player when it comes to 80 carries. He has no issues playing stuff like Seraphine and standing back and buffing his team and throwing out ults or Ziggs as well. Um, but yeah, this series is going to be really really entertaining. Strawberry, I just keep circling back around to his Rel, like you mentioned. I think his Rel is going to get banned every single game. But Victor against Vacant up top is going to be really, really to me like the highlight matchup because Victor has just a unique champion pool. We've seen stuff like Nocturne, stuff like Lee Sin, um, that just throw other top laners off and can create just leads like that with his unique champion pool. But on the other side, I mean, Load the Cannons, um, their mid laner pulls out some very aggressive, very entertaining picks. I think it was the very last week, week 7, where he pulled out AP Kog'Maw.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was AP Kog'Maw. But then he's also known as like I think he's one of the premier Silas players in the league as well. I know there's a few mids that play Silas really really well, and he's one of them.
Yeah. I can't
So,
remember. Did Tang play Silas? Because Tang.
uh, that's a good question. I don't recall seeing Tang on Silas. I know Tang in the last week he got Syndra 2 games and just popped off so
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
with that. So I mean it'd be curious to see if what bands get prioritized in this series.
Yeah, I think what you're gonna see from these two teams, because I actually do think they match up so well for this simple reason. I do believe they're just like kind of almost like carbon copies of each other, almost. And I'm going to tell you the one difference here in a second. But let me explain what I mean by that. I'm not saying they're the same players. They're definitely not. But everybody's role is kind of similar. So Poke Archer versus Frozen, they both are just team-oriented junglers. They don't play to be stylish. They don't play to carry every game because they're playing, Kindred or some crazy stuff like Zed Jungle, right? They're gonna play what's best for the team. That's usually a tank. They're gonna have high objective control. So that's gonna be a really battle of I feel like battle of the wits almost. So it's very similar there. And then you look at top lane, and this is the slight difference where you talked about Victor Apple having that different pull, but him and Vacant, they're kind of just stable top laners, right? They don't generally run it down or have really bad games. They do their job again, and they're not really looking to super carry either of them. Like Victor Apple might pull out some different things, but usually it's still something more for the team. And so again, that's where I'm kind of drawing that similarity. They have a similar role in their teams. I haven't seen Vacant pull anything crazy that I can remember, but doesn't mean that he might not just do that here because he sees what Victor's doing, right? He might say, I'm going to pull some crazy shit out. And then you go to the mid lanes. I think you have two mid laners with a high mechanical skill, right? That play
Agreed. Yeah.
a lot of different champions. They've shown that and can play them at a high level. So you're going to see, to me, what I expect to see is probably not. I'm going to be honest. I don't think we're going to see a lot of solo kills in the mid lane. I think if mid lane gets kills, it's going to be due to jungle ganks because I think they're both so good that if they do duel, it's going to be like you're going to be like watching like, oh my god, it's we're on the edge of our seats. Like who's going to kill who? And they're both going to live with 15 HP or some stupid shit because I think that's how good they are. And then they also play very high carry champions, right? So again, that's a similarity, right? Their role. But here's where the small difference is. It's I think going to be the bot lane, right? Though I do remember Chengi playing some engaged supports at times, could have sworn he played Nautilus, right? Didn't Chengi play a game of Nautilus, for example? Maybe
I
some
think so.
Leona.
Yeah, yeah.
He plays those things along with Strawberry. But I think Strawberry is generally more aggressive. And then on the other side, you have Bori, who generally plays for team, while Esco plays your more standard A carry. And what I mean by team, he's going to play whatever's really heavily in the meta. Not saying that Esco can't do that, but that's not what they favor, right? So that's probably the biggest difference, is this bot lane. So I think really this series will come down to what bot lane is performing better. I just kind of feels like what's going to happen. And so I could be wrong, and this could be the whole other side of the map, and maybe it's a top lane series, but it just feels like that's what it's going to come down to. So I don't know what your take on that is, CLT.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm actually trying to go back through their games, and Changi, I'm seeing a lot of Rakan, a lot of not Samir, Senna, and there's a couple of Thresh games in there, but it looks like the variance on the support for Boomer uh, is not very big. I mean, not that they can't play it, but it definitely feels like the bot lane definitely is the great big enabler for Boomer Squad to just go ahead and play for the team. Where for Load the Cannons, I think
Yeah.
they're playing definitely a lot more for lane.
Yeah, and the Thresh you bring up, I remember the Thresh. Maybe that's what I was picturing, not Nautilus, but Thresh. We've seen a lot of Nautilus this split, so it's hard to remember what everybody plays, but that makes sense. And I know he's definitely played some engaged champions, and he's been setting up Bori and Tang for kills because he roams as well. So it'll be an interesting matchup, and I'm looking forward to that. But I expect the series to be very tight. If they play 5 games, then it's going to go 5. If they play 3, it's going to go 3. That's kind of how I expect it to go. And
Yeah, agreed. This is the matchup I was super excited for.
And so as far as if you had to pick someone to have the edge, right? Who would you pick in this series?
Man, this is a tough one. Every time I think about picking one, then there's a point that comes up on the other side. Um, I might lean just slightly favored to Boomer. Um, I think Bori's unique champion pool in the bot lane can can create some issues. And also the type of champions that he plays are really good weak side champions.
Mm.
So that might open up Changi to maybe bust out some engaged supports or even the Rakan and affect the map a lot more. But man, this one's going to be close. I hope that the timing for this is something we can both cast and really have a fun, entertaining series. This
Yeah.
would not be a this would be a series I'd have no issues being a best of five because I could watch this all day.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like so in like football, right? You have this thing called pick'em. Like it's a pick'em series.
Yeah,
Basically, being like you just pick, bro. Like it could go either way, and I feel like that's what this series is. Like it just feels like I mean, what do the fans want? You go ahead, fans. You pick and you tell me because for me, like it's like a maybe a 51-49. One other way,
I,
maybe. I think it's more 50-50. I think it's split down the middle.
it's going to be whoever plays better on that day. Like it's such an even series. And now that I'm like looking at it more, it's like this mid lane. I'm really gonna, as a mid lane player, I'm gonna focus on as well because Tang plays like a lot of the mages really, really well, but Rurika is just so aggressive and so good on making plays, especially if he's allowed to play something like Silas, where he can like create pressure, steal an ult, use it creatively, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, they're both very gifted mid laners. It's going to be
Oh
a fun
yeah,
matchup.
without a doubt.
I don't doubt that for a second. Um,
Yeah.
so we don't know when they're playing. Hopefully, we'll get some info soon. But as of right now, that is an open book.
Mhm.
Next up, we'll have Team 2 versus Scorch. So these are two returning teams. With we did talk about it at one point. We did see some change in their rosters, but these teams are back from last split. So one thing I will say, we did not get to see Team 2 play a lot, right? They had two
Agreed.
series were forfeited, right? And we had one
Mhm.
series where they were missing a couple key members, and I think that was week one. So we really haven't seen this roster play a bunch this split. Now that could be an advantage or a disadvantage. The advantage part could be the fact that nobody really knows what they're going to look like. So when you're game planning for these guys, how do you really do that if you don't really have an idea? You don't have as much tape on them, as they would say. On the other side of it is, where's the synergy at? Are they playing a bunch of scrims? Obviously, I don't know. But that's where I would be the most curious about for this series. And then on the other side, we obviously know about Scorch. They are again mainstay here. The only thing I am concerned about is our friend Boonstra. He was in the path of this Hurricane Milton. So
Oh man.
everybody, pray for him and his safety. That's the most important. He did say, I don't think he said he was in direct fire exactly, but like it was gonna be, he was gonna be getting hit a bit. So he may not have power. That stuff might go down, and then we're gonna have to kind of figure out if we're gonna have them play this week or not. My thought process was, we don't want to delay the split. We want to make sure we get it done on time. Um, we'll come to that if that comes, to that head, and we have to broach that. But um, yeah, that's my kind of my big thoughts for this series. As far as the players, we're familiar with a lot of the players, right? Boonstra, Rusty Crow, Calico, Ares, and uh, who did I leave out there? Tem. Tem. I don't know why he's not showing up right here. I just see a T. So I maybe forget. Tem, I have not forgotten you. All right. And then on the other side, I don't even remember Team 2's actual roster because they all the goofy stuff. So I know we got Zelda and Alves and Geico and Mzure, but who is their top laner?
Uh, boy, that's a good question.
His name is not 6'3" tatted boy, E-boy. I don't think.
No, no, I don't. Let me
Yeah,
go
I
to
forget. He only played in
Yakovic.
Yakovich. There it is. Yeah, Yak.
Yeah,
I call him Yak all the time. That's right. But he only played in like
yeah.
one or two series, so it's easy. That's the thing. It's easy to forget when they weren't playing as much, and that's going to be the thing. Will Scorch be remembering this, right? If they look at an old VOD and they see a fill in, because I think Yak missed like the first week too. But yeah, so let's kind of dive a little bit into their series, though, and you can lead that off since you are friends with, of course, some of the Team 2 members. I'll let you talk about it.
Uh, yeah, yeah. I again have history with Alves and know Zelda a little bit. We've played some in houses against each other. He's a really, really good, solid mid laner. But overall, like when I looked at this, you kind of noted at the beginning. It's what what form are we going to see Team 2 in regards to like their full team chemistry and everything. I know they played as five last week against MTE and did pretty well, but Zelda is kind of the one I circled around as far as like Team 2 because he plays his own brand of champions. Like he shares some common picks with the other mid laners like LeBlanc, but he hasn't really shown uh, any gravitation towards the stuff like the Syndra, the Orianna, the Siluses. But likewise, he plays the Aurora really, really well. I think he's had it banned against him almost every single game, and when it wasn't banned against him, he picked it. So he's really good on the Aurora. I think he was one of the two guys that busted out in the Fury as well. So he has a unique champion pool, and he definitely plays his style very well. Owls in the jungle. This patch may not fall in line for him. They did nerf Faded Ashes and Leandries for the jungle clear, and we noted in previous episodes that Owls has definitely been trying out a lot of AP junglers. We've seen stuff like the Morgana, the Gragas. Um, he's always got his patented Rumble jungle that he plays quite a bit and plays really really well. So we'll see if that comes into play a little bit. But looking at like their week 7, Geico did not play any AD carries. He had a Yasuo game and he had a Syndra game that he performed very very well on. So it's this is going to be hard for Scorch to like prep into, and we'll see if that plays a factor. Scorch on the other end has had a really really solid season. Um, Boonstra and Clyco have played like really solid. And Ares is always a really good rock in the top lane. So it's gonna come down to like I think the pick ban quite a bit. If Team has got some really good solid picks that they haven't showcased yet, that could surprise Scorch in here, or if they can just play to Geico because I mean Geico. I think he was second in the MVP voting last split and got this team all the way to the finals. And he's an insanely talented AD carry as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, definitely one of the best. We saw him. He
Yeah,
he filled in for Low the Man in the All Stars and had a hell of a performance. And mind you, when those two met, Geico and Low the Man, it was a crazy series between the both of them, and they had
yeah,
such high damage numbers for their teams. It was insane. But yeah, the big thing for me, I think, if I were looking at like where would I maybe like try to highlight things, I feel like this series is gonna come down to a lot with the jungle, and the reason why I say that is because as good as Geico is, right, AD Carry still needs a team to back him up, right?
yeah.
And Rusty is such a playmaker. That guy, he finds plays, and so if Rusty is able to get advantages for his teams early, like he tends to, like even for bot lane, for example, it could be very hard for Team 2 to um, stay in the game because once Rusty's got that, and if he's on something like a Mumu, a Zac, anything that allows him to go in and play make, he's gonna find it. It's like how they say. I'm gonna bring another football reference here, but like they say in football, that sometimes on certain days Wilson finds you, and Wilson is what they call a football, by the way, guys. So yeah, if that's what's gonna be like for Rusty, it's usually the plays find him, right? The Wilson comes to him. So I guess in this sense, I don't know. I'd say the Rift comes to him. I don't know, but yeah, I think that's a big thing for me. On the other side of it, you got Alves, who always is very stable, and I think he's one of those guys. Not everyone really looks at like, okay, this guy is going to be um, like a star 1v1 god in the jungle or something, but he's actually a really good skirmisher, and he plays very good skirmishing champions. Like the Rumble's actually a really good skirmishing champion, as much as he can team fight. So I think when you're looking at that matchup, I feel like that's going to be the highlight point. Um, So this is kind of funny. Boonstra just tried to invite me to a game, and I'm talking about his series. But yeah, so that's where for me I think that's the big thing, and I'm not like obviously discrediting any other role. Like I just that's where I think it comes down to for me in this series. Obviously you have Tem, who's very very good mid against Amizure. I haven't seen a lot of him, so I don't really know like how that matchup's going to go. But I know Tem is really really good, right? So I'm excited to see the matchup, but I just don't have enough information on the other mid laner to give a proper breakdown. I'm not. No, Emzuri is not the mid laner. I'm sorry, Zelda is. I confused. Emzuri is the support. My apologies. My apologies. My apologies. What I meant to say was, I confused the two roles there for a second. Was that Calico versus Emzuri? I don't know enough about Emzuri, right, to give the breakdown. Whereas Calico, I've seen a bunch of her work. She's very good, knows what she's doing. Her Zillion's very good. Her Nautilus is very good. If she's playing those, she's obviously gonna. She has the like stuff like the Nami. I believe I remember her playing Senna, of course. Like these things are really really strong. So it's like, okay, what's that match gonna be like? I don't really know because I don't have enough to go off of and give you guys a proper breakdown there. Tem versus Zelda. We do know a lot about Zelda. We've seen them now a couple splits. Zelda's very much a team player. He's got some really good picks. The Hwei, for example, is very strong. One of his best champions. But I think for that, again, I think that's all about Alves backing him up. Or Rusty coming and setting up Tem. And that's kind of why I'm going back to the jungle so much. So I'm really... I think that's my main thing for this series, is what's the jungle going to look like?
Yeah, the 2v2 between the mid jungle is going to be really pivotal, because I think whoever wins that can affect the bot lane, and either team can give Geico's a lot of advantage attacking the bot lane if they win the 2v2 up top, but if not, then relieving Boonstra or even putting Geico behind could help as well. So, but yeah, Zelda still has a very wide champion pool. I mean, he's even busted out something like the Vel'Koz earlier in the split against BBL. So, he's got his own brand of mid lane, which I can completely respect, and he plays it very very well. But like you said, it's that 2v2 is going to be really really key, I think.
Yeah. So if you again, well, I'm gonna ask it. Like, who would you be favoring here if you had to pick?
Oh man, this one's a tough one too.
I gotta take your biases out of it. I know Alves is your friend, but
No. I wouldn't. Man. Part of me wants to lean towards Scorch. I think they have just a very small advantage in the 2v2. But that being said, like they can team can definitely make some really interesting stuff in the draft as well. So it's another 51-49. I want to say Scorch, but this could go the distance as well.
So I think because of team synergy specifically, I'm gonna give the slight edge to Scorch. I'm gonna say 55-45 like leans.
That's a fair point.
I think Geico, Zelda, and Alves have been together for now a second split in a row. Top lane and support are newer to the team. Geico and support haven't had as much time together. They have had some success together, obviously, as we've seen. So I think that's my biggest reason, but I think you can't count out Geico, and that's just the thing, right? Yeah. So I do worry for Scorch's bot lane here because Geico is just that damn good. But I think if Rusty's doing Rusty things and he's getting Geico behind, that's kind of where again I lean back towards the Rusty thing I was talking about beginning of the matchup here. So I'm gonna say that, but I would not be surprised if Team 2 wins this. It's like whenever I say it, I do this for the like stupid sports shows, right? We get annoyed because sometimes they'll pick one team to win, right? And everyone's like, oh, this is so dumb, and then everybody's picking it, right? And we're like, no, this is a way closer matchup than they're acting like. I'm not like that, right? I do believe anybody can win any of these series. I'm just thinking about if I had to pick one for the sake of picking one. But for me, like it still could be certainly a Team 2 victory. So but yeah, if we had the odds makers here, I think that's how it would go, and we'd be if you're betting, you'd be putting your money on the betting favorite, or you'd be putting your money on the underdog. I think the underdog here would be Team 2 slightly. And
they topped their group.
They topped their group with 2 free wins. Wait a second. No, wait a second. I just can't. I love Zelda. I love Geico. I love Alps. I love this team, who and I haven't got to know the other two yet. And I can't wait to when I finally get to know them more. You cannot in any way credit them with winning this freaking bracket like that, man. I just can't do it. It's not within me. I just can't do it. I cannot do it. They won it technically, but I don't know if they're a true 1 seed, and that is all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. And I think
I hear you.
Yeah.
I feel you. Don't get me wrong. Like I agree, but I mean, the Team L forfeit. We understood that it was very hard for them to arrange matchups, being a team based in another region. But the Zoomers, I mean, I wish I could have seen that series.
Yeah, I do too.
Those guys were 1 and 2 in their group. I agree with you ultimately. I think Team this series is gonna speak a lot. They could either come out and dominate this series against another team that they've played against in Scorch and another staple in this league, and if they come out, they can make a really big statement here. But it would not surprise me if they throw everything at Scorch, and then Scorch is just a really, really consistent team. I think their 3 losses were against the top 3 teams in Group A.
Yep.
No, I think they beat Small Brains, but they lost to Insane Bananas. So...
No, they lost to Small Brains. I can confirm.
Oh,
that.
okay.
Last week, week 7.
Okay, you're right. So yeah, Scorch's only loss, being the 4 seed from Group A, is the top 3 seeds in Group A. So, man, it's another banger. I hope we are able to cast that, and it's another 51-49, man. It's a good playoff.
I respect it. It should still, regardless, be a close series. Yes.
Yeah, I agreed.
So then we'll get on to the last. Oh no, I don't want to click that. The last series of the week. And, of course, all of a sudden it's acting funny. Okay, there we go. That's going to be Zoomers versus Small Brain No Mechanics. So, we haven't... Man, I'm like a little salty because I feel like I didn't see Zoomers play enough. And I mean that, like, not because, like, I'm worried about, like, I need to know about this team. It's more of, like, I missed out. I was out for a couple of weeks. I didn't catch as much. And then they forfeited a week, right? So, like, I missed some opportunities to see these guys play. And then every time the casting came around, it seemed like I always missed their cast. I remember one week we just couldn't cast their series, right? Like, there's just so many weird things. So, the info on this team is just not as much there. But I do know from what I've seen, they are a very, very, very good team, right? And so, we talked about we would have wished to see them against Team 2. Yeah, I would have, because I wonder if they would have went undefeated, right? Like, that's going to be the question. Because they won every series they played, and they lost the one they didn't.
Well, the one asterisk is they unfortunately had scheduling difficulties against Team and had to forfeit that. Yeah. But Zoomers week 7 had Team L.
Yeah.
So they played as many series as Team 2 did.
Technically speaking, you are correct.
Yeah.
It's 4-4, guys. It's 4-4. So really, Low the Kennedys got screwed out of first seed is what I'm hearing. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, they're gonna be fun to watch. I know. I remember After Pack specifically didn't play like a couple weeks for Zoomers, and that's their mid laner. And what I've seen from him is very, very good. CZ Star, he made All Stars, very stable top laner. But I honestly don't remember as much from their series because I think I only casted one maybe, and I think that was the one against MTE. So I really can't say much about what their kind of play is, right? But they do look like a solid team. That's just all I gotta say. They absolutely look solid. And then obviously on the flip side you have Small Brain No Mechanics. We've seen them at their best. We've seen them at their worst. And we're going to see them at, I guess, full strength for the first time in 2 weeks or 3 weeks now, because we had All Stars week, because I was out. I decided to come back, guys. If you didn't know, now you know. I'm going to be playing, so it should be a fun series. But I'm not going to talk too much about my team because, I mean, what's there to say? CLT can say it. I'll let CLT kind of break down the series from here. That's what I'll do.
This series gonna be interesting. As noted, we didn't get as much opportunity to see Zoomers. The one series I do remember casting was them against Big Back Laners. After Pack and CC Star are really, really aggressive mid-top duo. Standby in the jungle for Zoomers has I wouldn't say like an interesting champion pool, but he's not afraid to cook either. If anybody's went back and watched that first game, he busted out Zoe jungle. So this dude, he kind of makes me think of Victor Apple a little bit, where if the situation's right and he's done enough cooking and testing, he'll pull something out. But after Pack, very aggressive champion pool. He's one of the other like Silas gods in this league. But he's also had a really, really good talented Yasuo. And plays a LeBlanc quite a bit as well. So it's going to be a really, really interesting mid lane matchup. But with Small Brains, with their jungler being out, and had to play a couple of different lineups the last couple of weeks, and now you noting your return, it'll be interesting to see what the team chemistry is like and how you guys play at full strength. If you guys got a little bit of practice in on this week off going into playoffs, then this could be an interesting series where Zoomers, again being the number 2 seed from Group B, they might be fighting an uphill battle here. So, but you guys on Small Brains, really solid team. Fiddsticks in the bot lane, very aggressive support player, loves to make stuff happen. He's brought out stuff like Fiddlesticks and a Moo. Mono is just a rock. Stanny, while sometimes can find himself behind in the laning phase, he always finds a way to be relevant on stuff like Veigar. And then Vic is just a monster in the top lane too. I think if it wasn't for Dippy, like Vic would probably been one of the best top laners in that Group A. He just Dippy's unique champion pool and style spoke for him. But all in all, I mean, this is going to be another really good series, but we'll just have to see what shape Zoomers shows up in. Again, this is playoffs. This is what we're here for, is to see how these teams like play against each other. So
Absolutely, and I think big thing, with any team is just you are right. It's about synergy, but I could tell you I've played some games. I feel fine with team.
that's good.
I'm not worried about that. I think the big thing is just drafts. I think our drafts can be really, really good or questionable, and I think that's going to be the key for us in the series is how well we're drafting, especially against a team that is got very unique picks and stuff. That's going to be the challenge for us and for myself, especially since I haven't done a draft in multiple weeks now. I'll have to be focused up for that. As far as everybody else on my team, though, I feel confident in them and their abilities. I always trust them that they're going to do their job and that they're going to have good games, because that is what it takes to win, man. You just got to put trust in the people you're playing around. So, and with our team, I still feel I felt like this last split and the split before. I feel like basically anybody in the team can carry. Myself, not as much this split, but most of the time I feel like at any point we can. It's just how we set it up for ourselves and backing each other up and making sure we could do that. So on the side of Zoomers, I wonder how that's going to match up against us, right? Like, I don't know how their style exactly is yet. And so this will be a very, very fun series from that aspect. I think it's the most, we talked about like the 50-50s. I think this is the more like I just don't even know series, because I don't know Zoomers So even if I took myself out of this, right, and I just said I wasn't a player on Small Brain, I still wouldn't have a pick because I don't know shit. I just don't know because I can't go and be like make enough of an estimate. But I just know what I've seen, what they've put on paper, or not paper, but on screen, I guess, has been really, really good. The couple times I've seen them.
Yeah.
And also, have they been together a long time? I haven't had to ask them that question. But if they have, talk about synergy. Me and my team been together a while. This team, if they've been together a while, then again, it just comes down to who's either the better players, or I guess the better team, or the better drafting. And I think the better drafting will be the biggest key here. So.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. When you guys started off the season really well, that's one thing I noted was like you guys' drafting was super, super spot on. Um, but that's going to be interesting to just see how you guys approach it. Not searching for anything, but just with limited screen time for Zoomers, um, it'd be curious if they've cooked something up that you guys weren't prepared for, or vice versa. Now that you guys are back at full strength, so um, it's always going to be just a very interesting interaction. These game ones of this Group A versus Group B, like first round of playoffs. So this is again another really really exciting one. I'm really excited to see the top lane matchup because CC Star has looked really really good ending this season, and then I know Vic is just a monster up there as well. So um, not to like point you in that direction or anything like that, but just that 2v2 in the top lane, if that ends up happening or being a focus on, could definitely snowball to the rest of the map as well. So yeah, all in all, I'm really really excited. I'm glad to hear you guys are back at full strength because I think that just makes this series even more like entertaining to anticipate and watch. So
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's pretty much it for what we got. If you guys, let's look at this for the fun. I'm not gonna pick who's gonna win or anything, but you can kind of see. So, whoever wins the top side of the bracket here between Sad Jellyfish, Big Back Laners, and Boomer Squad of Little Cannons will then go into round two. So that means anything below them cannot play each other until the finals. So any of the dream matches you might be having in your head, if you have any, like I don't know, if you're like a guy that's like Zoomers versus Boomers, unfortunately, the only chance that happens is if they meet each other in the finals. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're looking at there. Should be really fun, exciting to watch for everybody. Hopefully, this is the best playoffs yet, and we have less, 2-0s or 3-0s, and we have a lot of just like hard fought series. That's what I want to see. Other than that, I'm gonna make sure to get MVP voting up. I'll probably keep it up for like a full week or something. I don't know. I'm undecided, but it's gonna have the 11 All Stars on there. Those are gonna be your MVP candidates. And hopefully we'll have that up soon for you guys. Otherwise, thanks for supporting the show as always. Thanks for coming out and watching. And we'll just be looking forward to a fun weekend because it's looking like all the series are going to be this weekend. It's seeming like it's leaning that way because we haven't seen nothing else posted for the other two. So maybe we'll get lucky. We'll get a Thursday series. I actually don't mind if we do.
Thursdays is not a great day for me, but
It is.
we might be able to make it work.
It is for me.
Yeah, I know. But all in all, if we're able to cast a series, we're going to. In a worst case scenario, I think we could probably get together and like cast over a replay. But this is going to be a really, really just entertaining playoff series. This will be my first split, like paying attention to it and even casting and being a part of it. So it's going to be a lot of really, really good League of Legends and entertaining League of Legends, especially on this new patch as well. So.
Yeah, and for those of you watching, if you're wondering why that is, CLT doesn't make the playoffs.
Thanks.
I'm just kidding. It's
I didn't the first split of Sweat League, but I won the Rec League that last split.
Hey, let's go. I had to make the joke.
I had to save myself somehow, bro.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
know. I had to. It wasn't even like a rush. I was just being fun, guys. CLT's awesome.
No, it's all good. No, it's all good. I'm just glad we could get all of these streamed, all of these out there. We're working on getting some of the Week 5 series up now. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun, and it's going to continue to be fun.
Absolutely. All right, well, then I think we'll close it off here. It's been a nice episode. We got about 50 minutes on this, so not as long as other ones. So we'll have to we'll cut it off then, because I don't want to keep this going any longer. So with that being said, GG guys, have a wonderful evening, and we will catch you guys on the Rift this weekend. Anything for them, CLT?
Nope. Nope. It'll be fun to watch these playoff series. So good luck to all the teams out there.
All right, guys. Take care.